This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort studio, here's Josh Hennig.
Tough as an Eagles fan, tough day because Slay spent 5 years in Philadelphia, went to 3 Pro Bowls, went to 2 Super Bowls, won one, which is what just happened. Not only that, great guy in the locker room. Stories throughout the course of the season, how he really took rookies Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean under his wing, kind of showed him the ropes, how to navigate life in the NFL. That's the one thing that gets lost, and the talent is leaving, and you understand what the production means, but sometimes you don't understand what the hit is in the locker room from a leadership standpoint.
That was Joe Fortenbaugh earlier today on 97.3 ESPN when the news first came down about Big Play Slay, also known as Darius Slay. His time with the Philadelphia Eagles is over for now. Will he come back? We're going to find out over the coming months. Josh Hennig hanging out with you in the Ocean Casino Resort studios here on 97.3 ESPN. We'll dig deeper into the NFL coming up in about 15 minutes from now with Andy McNamara, of course, NFL podcaster. He was watching the combine, the offseason news very carefully this past weekend. And we're going to get into it with him about, exactly what we take away from a weekend like that. And I think one of the biggest takeaways is with why this news happened today. I think this move by the Philadelphia Eagles was extremely calculated. The reason why I think it's calculated is because you don't make a move like this unless you are somebody who already has a game plan in place for what you are going to do to replace said player. And I think this is a manipulation of the market by Howie Roseman. Okay? And there's a reason why I say that. Q Myers, earlier today on 97.3 ESPN, made a point that kind of lines up with my own. Take a listen.
The way that he drafts players more times than not even for position of need, just they're the best player available. Obviously, going into the last draft, they needed corners, so they upgraded that immediately with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, and went out there, and those were targeted guys. But for the most part, he's able to draft such young guys and at positions of, the defensive line or linebackers or pick up these guys. The way he structures the roster, it allows them to allow a guy like a Darius Slay to walk.
See, think about that point really quick. It allows them to do something, okay? It allows them to make these kind of moves. Because Howie Roseman has improved as a off-season decision maker with the draft, it now complements the Eagles as a free agency team. And so now you can release Slay on March 3rd, designate him for a June 1st option, and then you can turn around and say, hey, we have options, okay? And I think that is where we got to move next. Because I don't think this means Slay can't come back. I think what this means is Philadelphia is manipulating the market. Philadelphia understands that the entire NFL just spent a bunch of days at the combine watching the next crop of NFL players run, interview, jump, practice. So there's a lot of people who they're not looking at Darius Slay right now as an option. Philadelphia basically put Darius Slay on the market and said, look, we understand that you may want to play another year, but you might not want to play another year under our conditions. But we also understand that the rest of the league right now is enamored with the next young cornerback. So now you have half the league who's going to look at Darius Slay and say, I want a guy who's turning 34 years old. I want one of the new guys. I want the new car. I want the brand new car coming off the lot. Whereas Darius Slay might be just as good as some of those new cars coming off the lot, even though he's a certified pre-owned used vehicle. And they're completely going to ignore what Slay may bring to the table. That also benefits Slay because, let's be realistic, Slay is a guy who he's not trying to go to a team that's rebuilding. Don't expect to see Slay playing for the Carolina Panthers or the Jacksonville Jags or the Tennessee Titans next year, right? Darius Slay said on the St. Brown podcast, the podcast hosted by the three St. Brown brothers, explained he does want to play one more year in the NFL.
I got one more left, but you know what I'm saying? You know how that works. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so whatever they want to do, I might re-sign back, hopefully. If I ain't, then we'll see what we're doing, because I do want to play one more year for sure, though.
He wants to come back, but he also loves Detroit. Detroit and Philadelphia, he has stated multiple times, are the two league organizations he wants to finish his career in the league with. Now, there's one other option out there, and that would be the Houston Texans. And I mentioned this earlier today on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Darius Slay has been living and training in Houston in the offseason. So he looks at Houston as another home, right? So if he looks at Houston, that's the third team that has playoff potential. I don't think anyone outside of those three teams are going to necessarily appeal to him right now, which goes to the Josina Anderson report that came out a little while ago, where she explains, quote, "It is my understanding that Slay won't have to wait till after June 1st to talk about and negotiate with other teams, especially given the respect and affinity the Eagles have for him. Schefter was first reported that Slay will be designated as a post-June 1st release. Typically, you can't talk before he's technically cut." And this isn't a surprise because I think Philadelphia is basically going to Slay in a similar way that the Rams went to Stafford and said, hey, man, we love you. We want to keep you. But if you want to go find something else, you want to go find greener pastures, go for it. We are not going to stop you. But we're going to be here if you want to come back. And they're going to tell him, look, if a team like the Lions or the Texans, they want to pay you $15 million to play next year, we love you. Thank you for helping us win a championship. But if you don't find that money and you can come back on a contract that benefits both of us, I think that's what the Eagles would prefer to do. And I think it's going to be like Stafford. I think he's being given the opportunity to evaluate his market and see what is out there for him. Now, what are the Eagles' options if Slay leaves? Well, we'll get into that coming up next with Andy McNamara, of course, NFL podcast, who joins me next on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City.
Unsportsmanlike with Evan Cohen, Chris Canty, and Michelle Small.
Y'all are saying biscuits aren't as good as bagels for breakfast sandwich? The biscuit is better.
Cece, no,
The biscuit is
you're
better.
What are we doing?
I don't know. Y'all are having the wrong. I don't know who making y'all biscuits. Y'all are all off. Like, if you got a biscuit as the vehicle for the breakfast sandwich, I'll take that 10 times out of 10 over a bagel.
What?
Wake up weekday mornings with Unsportsmanlike with Evan Cohen, Chris Canty, and Michelle Smallman on 97.3 ESPN.
You don't need a President's or Valentine's sale. Get to Matt Black Kia and save every day with over 1,100 new Kias in stock or en route. All with 0 down, 0 payments until May. Even low 1.9% financing for 60 months on 25 Kia Sorento and Sportage SUVs. So bring any trade, even if you're buried in a loan or lease. Matt Black Kia wants to get you released and into your new Matt Black Kia. Like the all-new 25 K4. Just $129 per month lease with 0 security deposit and only $36.95 due. Matt Black Kia, your PA and New Jersey Kia superstores in Abington, Egg Harbor Township, and Toms River, or right to your front door.
It's gotta be a Matt Black Kia.
With approved credit, $13.89 per thousand finance. Not all will qualify. Credit may affect down payment. Offers can't be combined. Go to mattblackkia.nj.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes through KMF. Rebates and incentives to deal expires 3/4/25. Matt Black Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township, and on Route 37 in Toms River.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide Free and Gentle provides an excellent Tide clean, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues like dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on your skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
Winter is here. Are you prepared? Don't get left in the dark. Kelvy Electric, a certified Generac dealer, has you covered. From installation to maintenance, they're your go-to experts for Generac generators, ensuring your home stays powered through any storm. A Generac home standby generator will automatically restore power to your home during an outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Put your trust in Kelvy Electric, the premier electrical contractor, serving South Jersey for over 110 years. Visit kelvyelectric.com today and stay ahead of any storm.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. NFL news in the NFC East as the Washington Commanders have acquired wide receiver Deebo Samuel in a trade with the San Francisco 49ers in exchange for a 5th-round pick. Major League Baseball, Phillies are off today. They'll return to the Diamond Tuesday in Grapefruit League play facing the Yankees in Clearwater. Phillies split 2 games Sunday, beating Baltimore 5-4, but losing to Toronto also 5-4. NBA Sixers hosting Portland tonight. Philadelphia ended a 9-game losing skid Saturday with a win against Golden State. Quentin Grimes with 44 points against the Warriors. Portland, they have won 4 of 5. Flyers back home Tuesday taking on Calgary. It begins a 7-game homestand. Philadelphia beat Winnipeg Saturday 2-1 in a shootout. They've won 4 of 5, getting at least 1 point in all 5 games. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
This is New Jersey Human Services Commissioner Sarah Edelman. Home health aides and direct support professionals are in high demand to help older adults and individuals with disabilities to live active lives. Learn more today. Visit jobsthatcare.nj.gov.
From the Towns Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. I'm happy to say tomorrow will be 10 to 15 degrees warmer than today. Let the next warm-up begin. Now, tonight's going to be cold. We're going to see a freeze, low of 28 under clear skies. Tomorrow, partly to mostly cloudy and a high of 52. Should be a decent early March day. Wednesday, periods of rain, heavy stuff and rumbles of thunder late day, high 57. We cool down again starting Thursday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Hey, it's Mike Gill. As football winds down, college basketball is gearing up. Fans are ready to see which teams will prove they are ready to shine in March and who will be seen in San Antonio. You can get in on all the action from tip-off to the final whistle at ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Right now, new ESPN Bet Sportsbook customers can bet $10 to get $100 in bonus bets and unlock 30 days of ESPN Plus. Download the app and sign up with promo code RADIO100 to get started today. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
We'll check in with you guys a little bit later in the hour at 609-403-0973. Of course, the DMs to the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Island. Also on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig, where Jeff from Ocean City chimes in. We'll squeeze in Jeff really quick as we wait for Andy McNamara to join the show. Jeff from Ocean City chimes in. I would like to see Howie and Slay come to an agreement for next season. Listen, I don't think it's outside the possibility. You know, John Clark of NBC Sports Philadelphia and others have all reported the same thing, that, you know, Slay and the Eagles, there is a real possibility there's a reunion. This was more of a financial move than it was a player move, because them releasing him now doesn't just save you almost $5 million for this year. It saves you $16 million for next season. So for the Eagles, you can go to Slay and be like, look, we're going to give you a 1-year deal. We're going to front load this thing with a stupid amount of money, so it's a low cap hit. You could take the money, you could play for us 1 more year, and you retire an Eagle. But again, I think that this is like Matthew Stafford. They went to him and they said, hey, man, we think that you want to be here, but if you can find something else, we're giving you the opportunity to go elsewhere. And I told you guys that Slay has said on his podcast, he has said on other interviews, Philadelphia and Detroit are the two places he loves. If there's a dark horse candidate, it's Houston because he lives there. I think that's it. I think Slay, you know, and we'll get to Andy McNamara in just a moment, and Andy will understand this because he's a father. Slay has said on his podcast he wants to see his son play high school sports before he graduates. I got to think, as a father who spends every off season playing your job away from home, there probably is an impact on, like, I don't know if I really want to play anymore, or if I'm going to play, I want to play somewhere that's convenient for me to go see my son. I'm not saying to sign a Roger Clemens contract. Remember Clemens had the whole contract where he only played home games his year in Major League Baseball? I'm not saying he's doing that, but I do think there is a part of Slay that he's reached the mountaintop, and he only wants to play 1 more year under his terms. Andy McNamara is the host of the Sick podcast at AndyMC81 on the Twitter X platform. And, of course, he joins us here on 97.3 ESPN. Andy, what was your reaction when you saw Slay and the Eagles part ways, or at least on the current contract?
My first thing I did was I texted you. That was my exact first reaction. I saw him like, whoa, hold on now. I was like, Josh, and you're like, we're talking about it on the air. I said, I figured you were. I was just surprised. It was, I think how you laid it out was probably how it will go. You can get Slay on cheaper deal, probably. We've seen this before. And if he does want to play 1 more year, you're on a team who just won the Super Bowl. This is kind of just do it for glory time, right? So if you're in it, I think if you can make the right deal, it makes all the sense in the world for the Eagles to bring him back. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? It makes so much sense. And then, like we've seen with other Eagles veterans, Howie Roseman's probably going to draft more amazing players who then, if one's a defensive back, Slay can help mentor a little bit. And I think it all lines up.
And listen, as I said before you came on, I don't even think it has to be necessarily a discount. You can sign a guy to a contract that front loads the money and makes the cap hit a little less crazy. You know, there's ways to manipulate this stuff. So I could totally see Darius Slay, maybe takes a couple weeks, talks to other teams. You know, he does a little, you know, the whole, like, you know, I really like this one car, but I'm going to go see what's on the other lots, right?
Yeah.
And then he comes back and he's like, you know what? This is where I wanted to be all along. And it's not that he's getting a discount, but he realizes that, you know, what he wanted was what he wanted, kind of deal. And the Eagles are like, hey, man, we're going to sign you a 1-year deal. I'm just throwing a number. Let's say it's $13 million.
Sure.
But like $12 million signing bonus, you know, like something stupid like that. And it's like a $1 million cap hit, you know? And then it's like,
get so creative.
Whatever.
Yeah, they get so creative with that. And, you know, the Eagles, I guess every front office, but Eagles front office is so smart. They'll figure that out. No problem. I think that will happen, because if you look at everybody else, it's kind of like, okay, if you're saying you're going to go 1 more year, how often do you see a guy say that and then it's like he's already half out the door? If you, what's the old saying? If you say you're going to retire, you're already mentally retired. So that very well could be, except I think if he comes back to the Eagles, because then it's same, you're going for that title. I feel it would be difficult for another team to see him and pay him the same amount of money on a 1-year rental. Not impossible, of course, but makes too much sense for him to go back eventually.
The other part of this is I think this was very calculated by Philadelphia, Andy. And here's why. Because you, as long as the rest of the NFL world, was very closely watching the combine the last few days. Wow. So everybody's mind and heart is on the last guy they saw, right? So there's a lot of teams coming out of that combine, and they saw all the new cars in the lot. And it's not that Darius Slay is a bad option, but he's a certified pre-owned used vehicle. Yes. And, he doesn't have the fresh car smell, let's say, as I just saw a guy run a 4.3 and leap 39 inches and blah, blah, blah. So I got to think half the league is saying, yeah, Slay, who cares? I just saw my guy at the draft.
Exactly. I saw my guy at the draft. I got Josh. I got my notebook here. You know it. Every year I go through, and I like to write it by hand, painstakingly. I got four or five new pages of fresh info. These guys, you're right, because you see these new fresh pages, and guess what else it means? Cheap contract, rookie deal, controllable asset.
Yep.
And that's all you get. Or I can get a guy who, like you said, certified pre-owned, brakes maybe a little squeaky. And again, Slay can be a value to a team, but if you can get new guys and have it all on your own, why? And I think you're right. Yeah, it's like I just saw all these guys run super fast and do cool stuff. I think I might go that way than a guy who's ready to hang him up.
Because like for example, and I'm just going to throw out two names for you. Okay, obviously Barton from Texas had a really good combine. A guy like Morrison from Notre Dame, a guy like Amos from Ole Miss. Those are three players that I think people are going to look at as a guy that, hey man, I'm not a top 10 pick team, right? But I'm a team, as you said, a controllable asset. And by the way, there's no reason why at 32 Philadelphia doesn't draft one of those guys, right?
Absolutely. I'm looking at the defensive backs right now. Some of the ones that I highlighted here. Denzel Burke from Ohio State, I think could be a later round value, mid-round. Guy who popped to me, Josh. How about a little Darian Porter? Iowa State. I know we all watch a bunch of Iowa State football. Right, kids? We all did. Every Saturday. Yep. No. 4.3 second 40. That's what you were talking about. I wrote beside it? 4.3 second 40, and then wow and underline. I think he could be 6'2", 7/8, 195. You can put him as a safety corner. That's just the type of thing that these scouts, if I'm excited about it, imagine what these scouts are excited seeing these types of players. A Maxwell Hairston out of University of Kentucky. Kobe Bryant. Obviously, his parents were basketball fans.
Different spelling, by the way.
It is Cobee. But I saw, I was like, okay, well, there's Laker fans. But a safety, 6 feet, 175. Like, there's great ball skills. There's so many different pieces here. And I'll tell you, Howie Roseman, I'm at the point, Josh, Howie Roseman's going to have to screw up a lot for me not to trust what he does. Whatever name he picks, I'm like, yeah, that guy's going to be great. That's just what he does.
It's funny you mentioned Porter because I actually don't think that he's a natural corner unless he's like in the cover 3 system.
Yeah,
and it can be. I think he can be, if he is a corner, it's more like a Richard Sherman Seattle cover 3, and maybe that's where a guy like Dan Quinn comes into the conversation, right? The idea that a guy like Dan Quinn in Washington might look at him and be like, hey man, I'm in a division with CeeDee Lamb and AJ Brown. I need a body out there.
A big body. And Josh, here's what jumped out to me, sticking with Porter here, is you got that long range when you're that size. But usually, guys that size who are corners, like, okay, you're going to be slower. You're going to get beaten by the zippy little guys. Again, and the 40-yard dash is not the be-all, end-all. We know you can train for it, and it's a straight line. But by God, 4.3 seconds. Come on. At 6'2" and 7/8. That's incredible. So that, to me, says this guy has absolutely unique and possibly the unique ability to be that big and cover the speedy receivers. You don't see that very often. So that could be someone for a Dan Quinn, could be someone for a Philly, or who knows? Because when you get that low in the draft, of course, when it comes to the first round or any round, it kind of becomes, you're not getting the top quarterback if you need one. You're not getting the top receiver. Who fits, or what's the best value? And that's where guys like this could come in.
And that's where we're talking with Andy McNamara, of course, host of the Sick Podcast at AndyMC81 on the TwitterX platform, joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios of Atlantic City. If Philadelphia wants to go back to the draft concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Kobe Bryant. I don't think Bryant's a first-round pick at all. I think he's a very good second or third-round guy. And that seems to be where Philadelphia over the years has gotten a lot of value, is where the first round is kind of like the can't miss guy, right?
Right.
But the second and the third and the fourth rounds where they get real value. Milton Williams was a third-round pick. Cooper DeJean was a second-round pick. The Eagles have found some of these guys. Landon Dickerson was a second-round pick, right? So you have maybe a guy like a Bryant of Kansas. And, I'll throw out another name for you that you didn't mention yet, but I mentioned Amos earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if Amos is a first-round pick. I know some people think he might be, but
back end maybe?
I mean, is he a guy that Philadelphia doesn't trade out of 32, right? Is he a guy that the Eagles just kind of let the draft come to them, and they see a guy like that, and they're like, you know what? We're going to have this guy under control for 5 years.
Get the extra year. And look, I want to throw a name out to Eagles fans here.
Sure.
And Lord knows I want him for the Browns, but you know how my luck goes. I'll get to I'll get a 5'10" defensive tackle. That's what I'll get. Thanks. Yeah, defensive tackle. I know Eagles are possibly looking, depending on free agency shakes out, possibly looking to shore up that defensive line. Josh, this guy jumped out of the TV screen at me, and I think you can probably get him in the third round, if not maybe 4. Okay? Ty Robinson out of Nebraska. This dude looks like he just shovels hay for fun. Nasty. This is what jumped out to me, Josh. 6'5" and 1/8, 288. Now you're thinking 288, is he an end? Where he was moved around the whole line. You can utilize him in a whole bunch of areas. Does that sound like some nice creativity that the Eagles could use? But here's the main point to me. You see these drills, and yeah, it's a combine. It's like, okay, they're running around cones. And they had the bag set up that mimic the offensive line. They have to, kind of knock him out of the way. Josh, this dude, I marked down an underline. He runs angry. Like, he is ferocious. He looked like he could be a pro wrestler. He was smashing these dummies like they stole money from him. He was smashing them, going around, the aggressive. He was so amped. I was like, I don't know where he's going to be drafted. I just know I want that type of guy on my football team. He actually looks like you could probably fit right in with the Lions. Like, that looks like a bite your kneecap off guy. Ty Robinson. I'm telling you right now, I am marking him down. That guy's going to be something in this league if he goes to the right spot.
You know who Robinson reminds me, and not literally, but he reminds me a little bit of, is Javon Hargrave, a guy who's a third-round draft pick who, people don't realize that Hargrave was not a guy who was, like, highly regarded. He came from a HBCU, South Carolina State.
Yeah.
And
high motor guys.
Don't
quit.
But guess what? You mentioned the high motor. Well, where did Robinson go to college again?
Nebraska.
And who's the coach at Nebraska?
I'm not sure.
Matt Roll.
Oh, Roll's there. Oh, okay.
Grinder. Tough guy. Roll had done a transformation from when he got there to now of retooling the entire recruitment of Nebraska. Remember, for years, Nebraska was soft, okay? Under guys like Bo Pelini, Scott Frost. You didn't look at Nebraska and be like, I want a lineman from there, right? And then Matt Rule comes in, and you start being like, okay, let's see what he does with these guys. And you saw that game against Colorado. And I know Colorado is a bad offensive line, but they made Colorado's offensive line look worse. There's only two teams this past year that made Colorado's offensive line look Swiss cheese. One was Nebraska. The other one was Kansas. So to me, that fascinates me because if you have a guy, like you said, with a high motor, he's a grinding guy, he's maybe a third or fourth round draft pick kind of dude, and you're not asking him to be the day 1, day 2 starter. You're asking him to be the third or fourth guy in a rotation, and you're saying, I only need you for like 50% of the snaps. and you're putting him out there. You get fresh legs and a high
Let him
motor.
loose and all across the line. That's the thing. That's you're not going to put him at DT 288, right? But you could in certain situations. Like, yeah, that's why I think he's a weapon. And I was thinking, who does he remind me of? But his look. He looks like Brock Lesnar. Okay, his face. He looks like Brock Lesnar. Josh,
as long as he's mentally not Brock Lesnar. Okay?
Well, yeah. Let's ease up on that one, Ty. But the guy is just amped to the nine. So that's maybe as excited I've ever been about a defensive lineman. Josh,
can I say,
Garrett.
what's crazy is that he actually weighed less at the combine than he did on his college resume. So I don't know what that says. I don't know if he purposely lost weight to show that he could lose the weight. I don't know if he's a guy that was like, hey, I want to come in and maximize those like numbers at the combine and then maybe put back on a couple pounds, maybe eat the extra cheeseburger before my pro day.
Right. Jump up a little bit. Yeah. Like, the 40-yard dash, 4.83. Like the stats, when you look at it, it's like they're good, but they don't pop. And so now to me, I'm like, okay, well, I saw what this guy was able to do in those drills. What does that mean? And I know it would have caught some of these coaches' eyes. So I think this defensive tackle class is sensational. I'll tell you, though, you tell me when you want to get to quarterbacks, because I'm telling you, man, there's some guys who made themselves some money and lost themselves some money.
Well, I will say this really quick, because you mentioned about the numbers. I want to touch on them with you, and I wanted to bring it up to the audience, because I was listening to Joe Fortenbaugh here on ESPN Radio. He brought up an amazing point last week that I feel like people did not listen to him, because he said Indianapolis installed new grass before last season. They used to have that artificial speed turf, right?
With the little rubber pellety things, yeah.
They got rid of all of it. They ripped the whole thing up. It's now like a synthetic grass that is softer, because they were trying to put in something that would decrease injuries. Those like, non-contact injuries, and those like injuries that like, when you plant your foot and the guy's knee breaks,
Yeah.
Try to not be like the Giants, try not to be like Giants Stadium. Well, what happened was they found throughout the season that players who were faster on the artificial turf were slower on this synthetic grass. So Joe Fortenbaugh put out there, he said, no one's going to break 4.25 in the guess what? No one got less than 4.28, right? So
yeah.
You look at a guy, how many of those guys might have looked faster if it was last year, number one, and number two, how many guys are going to have a better number at their pro day, because maybe the pro day gun, they cranked that thing a little extra half second off of it.
Right. Depends what turf you're on for your pro day. Like Matthew Golden from Texas, 4.29. Isaiah Bond, 4.39. Yeah, that's interesting to see like what it would be if you're on that faster sort of turf-like surface and what that does. The wide receiver class, I think it's being downplayed a little bit, and it's not as dynamic as in years past, but I think you can still find some real good play. Like that Jack Besh guy, his story coming out of the soul. Holy, that guy's going to be a player for somebody. I like him a lot.
You know why the wide receiver class is being downplayed, Andy?
Why?
Because there's the top three guys are not your traditional top three guys.
How so?
Think about it. Like how many times do we look at a draft class and it's like, it's like a Garrett Wilson of Ohio State, or it's like some like super big name. Like, no offense to any of these guys, McMillan of Arizona, Burden, where is he from? Missouri. Golden, you mentioned from Texas. You mentioned back, where is he from? TCU, right?
Yes, TCU. Yeah, you got.
But also, like any of these guys, like none of them scream number one receiver. They all scream high level two. Like they're all guys that like. For example, if the Bengals drafted one of them, he's going to be
Higgins.
Really good, right? But if they get drafted, let's say Chicago, maybe not as great. Kind of like
right. Yeah, because McMillan has the size. Like McMillan is a freak, but he doesn't have, let's say, like the blazing speed to match it like a DK Metcalf.
Right.
Type of thing. Yeah,
and
I
Burden,
totally see that.
Burden, I don't even know if he's the best route runner, honestly. I think that he's ranked high because he's a very good athlete, and he's very good in space.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you one guy I do like. My God, it's back to Iowa. What's with me? I'm gonna start watching Iowa State games here, Josh. Okay, I got Ty Robinson on one side, my receiver guy on the other side, Jaden Higgins. They're making him big out in Iowa. Oh no, Nebraska's Robinson. Sorry, but for Jaden Higgins, 6'4" and an 214, 4.47 second 40. Comps to Nico Collins. And when I was watching him, I love watching the drills because you can tell, especially in those gauntlet drills. Are their hands natural? Are they natural pass catchers? Are they fighting the ball? Do they catch the ball in stride? Do they keep or gain speed when they catch the ball? And Jaden Higgins was checking all those boxes. So again, with these receivers, because you said there's not a clear boom, this is a Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb number 1. I think there's going to be teams that get some great value out of where these receivers end up going, probably more so in the second and third round. And I got a little star beside that Jaden Higgins, man, because he's got size, which we love. He's got speed, and he's got the big catch radius. So Jaden Higgins is another one to watch.
Yeah, I mean, a guy I could totally see Philadelphia picking up, and I'm not trying to sound crazy about this, but Jimmy Horn Jr. of Colorado. Ooh. That guy had some big games catching for Shedeur Sanders, and he's like a 5th, 6th round pick guy that people are going to forget about, but he comes from real lineage, right? He's related to Joe Horn. And he's one of those guys that he may not be the biggest guy, but if you're going to Philadelphia, I don't need you to be the biggest guy. I just need you to be available.
I need you to be available. I need you to fit into the system and be open to being coached, to have the good attitude
by the way,
to fit in.
I guarantee you, Shedeur Sanders is going to light up his pro day, and who's he throwing to?
Jimmy Horn Jr. Boom. Ran a 4.46 second 40 too. This is going to be so fascinating because what's so funny, if you think about it, Josh, of course, is these quarterback stocks are rising and falling without them playing. That's what always gets me every year. How did so and so rise or fall? You didn't play, but you are able to express and show growth. And I got to tell you this: going into this, I had a negative mindset towards Jackson Dart, meaning I wasn't expecting much because I didn't like what I saw out of him at the Senior Bowl. I did like how he progressed, though. And I'm not saying he's anything close to the type of player Josh Allen is or build-wise or anything. But what I saw out of Josh Allen that year in 2018 was the same thing. He started, you saw, okay, completion percentage. Then the Senior Bowl, not so good. Oh, then he got better. Then the Combine got better. Then his pro day, better. And I want to see guys who are progressing. Are you learning? Are you fixing yourself as this offseason go? Or are you just staying there? And I think Jackson Dart made himself a ton of money. Because, again, I was not impressed at the beginning of the Senior Bowl, a little more so. Josh, this guy's got a good head on his shoulders. He set school records. He's got the size of 6'2 1/4, 223. That's right where you want for an NFL QB. And he's sneaky athletic, too. That's what I went back. I was like, yeah, he can move a bit. And he was placing the ball. I'm hearing, Josh, people are now after this because Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward did not throw or do any drills. Jackson Dart, just by doing stuff, is now moving up, and some people are putting him almost, if not at even par with Shedeur Sanders.
See, the thing with guys, to me, it's like Jackson Dart, Kyle McCord, Dylan Gabriel,
McCord's a bum.
Will Shuck, Tyler Shuck, Will Howard. I think all of those guys, Brady Cook's another one. Oof. I think they all are guys who, if they go to the right situation, right?
Yes.
If they go to the right coaching staff, I think that all of those guys can be something.
Mm-hmm.
If, for example, Brian Daboll still coaches the Giants. He got to a postseason with Daniel Jones, right? Give him somebody better than Daniel Jones. Then what happens? You know what I mean?
He tried.
Right, but I mean, you look around the league, people can talk about Brock Purdy getting a contract. Are we sure San Francisco's giving him a full 5-6 years? How do we know they're not giving Brock Purdy a 3-year 150, and then they draft, in the 3rd or 4th round, a a guy like Tyler Shuck, right, or a Dylan Gabriel. You don't think Kyle Shanahan, he's done it before. Remember, they drafted RG3, and then later they drafted Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Like, you know, or what if a guy like, I'm just putting it out there, Mike McDaniel? What if he goes in the draft and says, I really like Jackson Dart, Kyle McCord, Will Howard, who was the guy? Brady Cook. And he says, hey, if this whole Tua thing doesn't work out, at least I got to fall back on.
He needs a succession plan. No, like, it's stupid if the Dolphins don't. Just straight up dumb if they do not start making a succession plan for Tua. You cannot trust that he's going to stay healthy. You can't trust it. But you mentioned Brady Cook. That's the guy that leapt off as someone I had zero expectations on, didn't know much about at all. And boy, Josh, like, I'm looking here, 6'2", 214. The hand size is there. I thought what I think cost him is he was moving around, like moved schools a lot, but he went to 4 straight bowl games. Not turning it over, 300 plus attempts, fewer than 2 interceptions. I think high-end backup, maybe fringe star, but he's athletic. Ran for 20 TDs as well. Like, he just really impressed with his delivery. And that's why I like to watch the combine too for these quarterbacks. How does their motion look, right? They're not getting hit, but is there up? Is it a big loop? Is it short? And the footwork is so key. Jalen Milroe's footwork was trash. You saw Brady Cook's clean. Will Howard, clean. Jackson Dart, clean. That's what you want to see. You want to see him drop back, step, and push, especially if they're shotgun guys. And so that's the type of thing I was watching for. I thought, and he started good, and I was like, I'd have Memphis. Seth Hennigan, I think someone's going to fall in love with that, with the big body and the big arm, and take him. Again, I don't expect Seth Hennigan to be a star in the NFL.
He's a bust.
I think he looked kind of goofy, but like, someone's going to fall in love with that, and part of it's going to be because what they saw at the combine. Now
it's gonna be him, Graham Mertz, Riley Leonard. Like, these guys, people are gonna fall in love with, like, their bodies, and they're not gonna draft football players. They're gonna draft body types.
Riley Leonard, if he's smart, would watch and try to become Taysom Hill. He's Taysom Hill if he wants to be. That guy is super athletic. He is not a good thrower of the football, but he can kind of sometimes be. And he's a big body and he can run. And I bet you he can learn to catch. I'm like, look, you could have a nice life being Taysom Hill, Josh. You have a nice life being Taysom Hill, right? Make a lot of money. I think Riley Leonard should be him. Will Howard did not have a great day with the combine stuff, but he would still, if you're taking away from me, if I can't have Cam Ward or Jackson Dart, I want Will Howard, and still maybe that leadership, those intangibles, that field general. They interviewed the 15 Ohio State guys coming to -1 with Will Howard that were at the combine. 13 of them said if they could bring one guy to the NFL with them, they said Will Howard. The guy is Josh. You said it though. It's going to be about fit. Josh Allen. What if he went to the New York Jets? He'd probably be out of the league with how raw he was. You need a landing spot. I need the Brian Daboll. Maybe it will be Brian Daboll to find Will Howard and make sure he reaches his potential, because that guy has unquestionable star power. And boy, you'd hear me down there if the Browns took Will Howard. I would be beside myself with joy.
At AndyMC81 on the Twitter X platform, of course, the Sick Podcast. Like, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. I personally get them now on YouTube. Excuse me, YouTube. I got rid of Spotify.
Did you?
Yeah, I got rid of it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, hey.
Well, it's just taking too much space on my phone. Like, at some point, these apps just they keep gluttoning up and stuff. And this whole thing where they auto download things you don't even want. You know, it's like if you have pods on your list, it just starts auto downloading. And I'm like, well, I didn't want that episode. I want another episode. So I had like, I think it was like 30 gigs of like podcast episodes I never listened to.
You know what? I just search up the ones that I go each day, and I just download the one that I remove them right away. But that's a lot.
I'm just doing. I'm making the transition to YouTube music.
There you go.
And using YouTube music because I'm already paying for it. So
why not? You do that. And Josh, tonight at 7 p.m. tonight, I'm going to be. If you think I was excited about Ty Robinson, okay, wait till you hear. Wait till you hear when I run through the rest of the list. We're going to have NFL draft expert who is at the NFL Combine, John Vogel, Great guy. We're going to break this thing down. Look at not just Browns targets, really every target. Because the great thing is, Josh, the Browns need every position. So if you're a fan of a team and you might need a position, I'm probably going to talk about it. Okay. We didn't even get to
I got a nugget for you. I got a quick nugget for you.
Oh, what do we got?
The Eagles just hired over the weekend Scott Loeffler, the former Bowling Green head coach, to be the next new quarterback coach. Scott Loeffler was a finalist for the Browns quarterback job a decade ago. He lost the job to Kevin O'Connell.
Really? Interesting. I never knew that. O'Connell turned out to be pretty good, though. Fix Sam Darnold.
I'm just putting it out there.
Interesting nugget.
Like the Browns literally changed the trajectory of two men's careers.
One to Bowling Green, one to fix Sam Darnold in Minnesota. Hallelujah.
How about them Browns?
How about them Browns? Okay. Hey, real quick, Josh. You guys hearing down there the Myles Garrett rumors to you guys coming out of the combine? I'm not. I'll tell you, I don't buy. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, you know what? Let's next time you come on, we'll dig deeper into that because you're all drafted up.
Yeah, I'm all drafted up now. Okay, I'm all drafted up. We go. But let's talk next week. We'll get to all that, buddy.
Sounds like a plan. Take care, my friend.
All right. See you. Bye.
At AndyMC81 on the Twitter X platform, of course, Sick Podcast. Of course, download wherever you get your podcast. We'll get back to text. We're coming up next. Dan and EHT, your text and more. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
It's Flyers Flames tomorrow night on Rock 104.1 and the Rock 104.1 mobile app. Listen as Tim Saunders and Todd Fedor bring you all the exciting play-by-play action.
Now Beachcomp on the back end. He scores! Bad Bay Beachcomp!
It's Flyers Flames tomorrow night. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on South Jersey's classic rock station.
What a save by Harrison again!
Rock 104.1 and the Rock 104.1 mobile app.
Same game parlays and slot games for days. Double the fun with the Bally Bet app. Let's play. You can bet on football, basketball, baseball, or play blackjack, roulette, even baccarat, y'all. It's double the fun, 2 apps in one. Download it today, but only if you're 21. The Bally Bet Sportsbook and Casino app. You can win real money on your phone. No cap. Must be 21 plus, New Jersey only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Bally Bet Sportsbook and Casino. Download it.
This is the story of the one. He's responsible for keeping a leading healthcare facility clean and safe. And he trusts Grainger's high-quality HVAC cleaning and safety products, combined with their world-class supply chain, to consistently deliver, ensuring he's covered inside and out, so he can focus on keeping his facility clean to help protect the health of everyone inside. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Transforming your land with a John Deere compact tractor is as easy as connect, latch, load, haul, spread. Cutting grass is as simple as roll, click, mow. Box blading is as effortless as hook, lock, grade. And backhoeing is as convenient as turn around, switch, dig. Because when you've got the versatility to tackle just about any job and dealer support in your own backyard, you just have to get in the seat. Find the right compact tractor for you at johndeere.com.
Hey, nice job, Pete. I like those clean lines. Fellas, do we have anyone that can get to Greenport today?
At Corey's Landscaping, the staffing plan is in the weeds.
Anthony, we need that leaf blower over here. 3 more new customer requests just came in. Who wants to work some overtime?
He needs to dig up quality landscapers and fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life and your RV, RV wins.
You're going to take the RV to the lake or clean out your closet? Putting the dishes away or taking the RV camping? Cleaning the fridge or taking a trip to the beach?
You might want to clean the fridge real quick because, mold.
We clean out the fridge, then take the RV out.
With Progressive, you can bundle your RV with your home or auto and save with a discount and spend more time enjoying those savings in your RV. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states and situations.
We're famous for a buffalo wing. The Piccalilli comes to cooking wings with the king. The Piccalilli.
On game day, don't wing it. Take the trip to the Pick. South Jersey's king of the wing. Try their award-winning wings, tails, and ears in mild, spicy, or hot, or signature flavors like garlic parm, hot honey, Jim Beam maple, and more. For eat-in or takeout, get your chicken wing fix on Route 206 at the Piccalilli Inn. Join the flock. Follow them on Facebook for events and game day specials.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Let's check in with you guys on the text board, 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 97.3 ESPN. Mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. And of course, we are always live on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. Dan in EHT says Slay is a slam dunk legend of a player for the Eagles, one of the greatest signings in Eagles history. Hall of Famer on the field and a great locker room guy. He is definitely a slam dunk acquisition for Philadelphia. I don't know if he's going to make it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but I think he definitely could be in the conversation for Eagles Ring of Honor. I think any of the guys who have been a part of Eagles Super Bowl championships, right? The 2017 team and then the 2024 team, I think any of those guys, we can put them in that conversation. We can put those guys in the whole we could put those guys into that, hey, we don't just thank you for a championship. We're going to put you up in the rafters kind of deal. So you could have that conversation with any of those guys. I think what's more important, Dan, in the EHT, is what you said about who Darius Slay was in the locker room. That's kind of what Joe Fortenbaugh pointed out earlier today on 97.3 ESPN when he said this.
The Eagles have to be confident that their leadership structure is of such that losing Slay will be something that they can withstand that moving forward. They save some money financially. I think from a personnel standpoint, Quinyon Mitchell is holding down one side. Cooper DeJean could step up and hold down the other side. You should be fine. But that's not to make light of everything Slay has brought to the table. He was a fantastic Eagle. It's going to be sad to see him go.
And I think that that's what the key is. He was so important in the locker room. Remember, Slay was the guy who said, hey, I'll sit next to Mitchell. I'll mentor Mitchell and DeJean. He called them his kids. Like, he treated them like they were his own family. So I think if you can't bring a guy like that back, the question is going to be, how do you fill that void in the locker room? Before we get out of here, Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN. Sixers, they're a mess. They found a way to win a game they shouldn't have on Saturday. But my bigger picture for takeaway for the weekend is this. Saturday was an example of why sports are special. Why anything can happen any night of the week. You saw two teams win unexpected games for completely different reasons. The Sixers had an all-time game from a guy named Quentin Grimes. And I kept thinking on Saturday, why is nobody guarding this guy? Why are the Warriors so bad at defense with one guy? Why was he open so much? And I realized as the game went on, basketball is the one sport where if you don't do your job, you can get away with it for a time, but it comes back to bite you later. Flyers won their game because they played a high level of defense. Fedotov had the best game of the season. And, folks, Matvei Michkov, if you didn't realize he was the real deal, the dude is a stud. He won that game for you, a game you weren't supposed to win against the best goaltender in hockey. Have a great night, everybody.
Every choice you make matters.
And welcome into the post-show Josh Hennig right here on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, and thank you all for watching. We do some of these post-shows when I get a chance to after the show is done on 97.3 ESPN. I wanted to follow up with the different direction the Flyers and the Sixers are going real quick because it was on display clearly on Saturday night. Saturday night I was over at Bulldogs over in Galloway, Egg Harbor City, depending on what kind of person you are. Everyone describes that area differently, but great people over there. Shout out to the owner, Jay, as well as the bartender, Rachel. Great time with them over at Bulldogs. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I haven't had a chance to go out much lately because of work and a variety of other things, but it was nice to get out, watch the games, hang out with some people. And one of my big takeaways from Saturday night was you had two teams going in opposite directions, Flyers and Sixers. And they both won, but they won for completely different reasons. And I had a buddy of mine text me late Saturday night and said, how on earth did both of these two teams win? And it's very clear to me that they both won because of the direction they're going in. You see, the Flyers are a team that is building toward a better future. The Flyers are a team that is evolving and growing and developing, and a huge reason why they traded away Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost a couple weeks ago was because they realized those two players are not part of their progress. Excuse me. I thought Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider from 97.3 ESPN.com, when he told us here on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig, he put it very clearly. He said, when you have a player like Matvei Michkov of that talent, you are automatically accelerating the clock. You are already accelerating where he is going to, where the organization is going. And so you can't have guys like Farabee and Frost who might have hit their ceiling anymore. You got to get rid of them. You got to move on. Look at what Philadelphia Eagles have done. The Philadelphia Eagles, over the last several years, they have drafted and acquired a ton of players who are secondary players, right? Keely Ringo, Eli Ricks, Mario Goodrich, Tristan McCollum, and they still drafted DeJean and Mitchell because Philadelphia said, we realize that who we have isn't good enough. So we're going to keep loading up and loading up and loading up with corners until we get it right. The Flyers started to do the same exact thing. The Flyers said, look, yeah, we've drafted Farabee and Frost, but we're also going to keep acquiring, keep adding. And that's where guys like Bobby Brink and Tyson Forrester, they're not as well known as Frost and Farabee because Frost and Farabee were very highly lauded prospects. But Forrester and Brink were developing and advancing and evolving at a much higher rate than the 2 first-round picks. So the Flyers said, we're going to get rid of the 2 first-round picks while they still have value. The Flyers have arguably played better without Frost and Farabee, which is insane to say because there was a time that Morgan Frost was thought to be the future of this team at center. Now it's Noah Cates. Noah Cates, a guy who I think most people did not expect him to develop what he's developed into. Noah Cates, in many ways, reminds me of what happened with the Eagles and Milton Williams. A guy who was drafted later, not a first or second round pick. Milton Williams was a 3rd round draft pick. He has evolved and grown into a guy. I mean, he's probably going to get like a 3-year, $48 million deal in free agency as Milton Williams. That's why he's probably not going to be in Philadelphia anymore, because he is a guy who has evolved and grown into a commodity, into a stud. And that's what you're seeing with the evolution of Noah Cates. He was literally here 2 years ago as a depth player, and he has proven himself to be an essential player. That is the development of the Flyers organization, which is why they're different than the Sixers. The Flyers are growing and evolving and developing, and the Sixers, they're accidentally winning games because of Quentin Grimes. And this is where an organization is rudderless. This is why the Sixers are a dumpster fire, because the Sixers progressed through this season holding on to a pipe dream. They were hanging on to a lie. They kept saying the lie to you, the fan, so much. They lied and misled you and handed you a fugazi. They handed you a false narrative because they were so intent on trying to contend and get to the postseason and not have this season go to waste. And they mismanaged it from the day one of training camp. And instead of them coming out and telling you, the Sixer fan, the truth, they kept lying, they kept misleading, they kept trotting Nick Nurse out there with no information. And then they pull the plug on the season way too late in the game. They should have pulled the plug on the season over a month ago. But it was like they bought their own lie. It's like they bought into the charade they were giving to the fans. They were trying to tell you, the fan, everything's fine. It's like the meme of the dog, right? In the fire. And the dog's like, everything's fine. And, you know, it's like they didn't understand that, no, it's really not fine. Okay? It's really not A-okay. And that's who the Sixers are. The Sixers are an organization that tried to tell you, the fan, for so long that everything is fine, everything is okay, and it's not. For those who don't know, here's the meme I'm talking about. This is the Sixers organization. They tried to tell you for years that everything is fine. And you believed them because the fire never touched you. The fire never caught you. It just kept hovering around. The fire has finally gotten to the table with the coffee. And the Sixers are already telling you everything is fine, everything is good. The fire department's at the door. They're knocking. We got to put this fire out. We got to clean out. And you're like, no, everything's good. We're fine. And now you accidentally win a game on Saturday because a player who you acquired in Philadelphia, the Sixers acquired this guy, Quentin Grimes, with the mentality, with the idea that this guy was going to come in here and help you. And then 3 weeks later, you decide Embiid's done for the year. It's all a no-go. And you know why it took so long? You know why the Sixers took forever to move on and admit that Joel Embiid is done? It's because of this report from Shams Charania, ESPN NBA insider. Listen to this, and you will understand why this entire season was a charade.
Over the last month, we've seen fundamental differences between Joel Embiid and the 76ers as far as Embiid believing that he needs a different treatment approach for this versus the 76ers feeling you play on it, get in better condition, and you could continue on this year. This has been a situation the 76ers have been dealing with all season.
It's a situation the Sixers have been dealing with all season, says Shams. And what happens is for those who don't understand, there is science for both sides of this. Okay, I am a NASM certified personal trainer, nutritionist. I have 4 certifications in the health and fitness field, 3 from NASM and 1 from another outlet. NASM stands for National Academy of Sports Medicine, by the way. there is one set of studies that say that in order to recover, you need to be active. The idea that when you're active and not sedentary, you're continuing to have healthy circulation, you're continuing to force the nutrients in the bloodstream that's being delivered to certain parts of the body. And you don't want the part of your body to go completely dormant, right? That's injured. That's why they go do rehab. The idea that if you have a knee injury or you have an ankle surgery or you have an elbow or shoulder injury, the rehab is meant to not just aid in your recovery, but to rebuild strength in that part of the body they just did surgery on. So yes, there is a ton of science on one hand that says, don't be dormant, don't just ice it, don't just worry about the inflammation. You need the blood flow and circulation. There's a ton of science for that. But there's just as much science, there's just as much research that says if the injury does not recover the way it's supposed to, if your body is not healing the way it should, you either need to get new surgery done or you need to just get off that body part. There is a ton of science because of dead arm. For those who don't know, dead arm is a baseball term for when a pitcher just uses his arm so much that the body is just completely taxed and there's no surgery, no rehab that can fix it. You just got to be like, dude, you can't pitch for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever the number is. And the body, through being inactive, will repair itself over time of inactivity and rest. That dead arm for a pitcher will repair itself. Okay? So there's two different ends of the spectrum, and it's a case-by-case basis. So if you're the 76ers, as Shams just said, you had Embiid saying, dude, this is not working, and the Sixers saying, yeah, but we have science that says it does work. And so this is where the Sixers are dumpster fire, because they were so convinced that their plan was working, they didn't listen to the patient, they didn't listen to the player, and they let their ego get in the way of doing the right thing. And you win a game like Saturday night because you have no direction, you're rudderless, you're a dumpster fire, and you win a game by accident, all because you acquired a player that if you were in complete sell mode for this season, you would have never acquired him, he would have never been on the team, and now he's on the team, and you win a game that you shouldn't have. So while the Flyers are building and developing toward being a contender, the Sixers are just flopping in the ocean with a life vest, and they can't swim, and they're just floating in the middle of nowhere saying, please somebody help me. The Flyers and the Eagles and the Phillies are all trending in a specific direction. They have particular goals. They have a plan. They have everything, and the Sixers got nothing. Before we get out of here, Jonathan chimes in on the YouTube channel. He says, Slay back to Detroit perhaps, but I thank him for being an Eagle. Jonathan, I said it earlier on the show, Darius Slay has said that he really only wants to play for either Detroit or Philadelphia. I don't know if Detroit's going to sign him because I don't know if Detroit wants to put that kind of one-year investment into a player. Slay has been very clear. He has one more year left in him. He wants to play for one more season. I don't know what that means. I really don't. I don't know if that means he means a literal 1 year. I don't know if that means he is saying I would like to play one more year, or if he legitimately means I got one more year left in me. Guys, when they talk, it can mean anything, right? Guys, it's up for interpretation unless they're overtly specific. So I don't know if Detroit wants to spend the kind of capital on a one-year player. I said before, I think he's on one of three teams if he plays next year. Philadelphia, Detroit, and then the dark horse is Houston, because Houston is where he lives and trains in the offseason. So those are the three teams I think he plays for next year. I think the reason why Philadelphia has a chance is because I think Philadelphia is letting him test the market, see what's out there. And if he comes back to them and says, hey, guys, I think me staying here is the best option, then Philadelphia can give him a pretty sweet deal where, Jonathan, Philadelphia can turn around and say, look, we're going to give you a certain amount of money up front. We're going to give you a big signing bonus. And that way it alleviates the salary cap for the rest of the year. Because if you give a guy more money up front and pay him less during the season, guess what? There's less of a hit on your salary cap. Because you already gave him the money. Eagles can get very creative with this if they really wanted to. But it's about Slay doing what he wants to do. And I think Philadelphia is trying to do right by him. They're doing to him what the Rams did to Matthew Stafford, where they said, look, we want you, we love you, but if you want to go somewhere else, that's on you. That's on you to figure out. All right. Thank you all for watching here on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. No game night on 97.3 ESPN tomorrow. I'm taking a personal day off from the radio station. I will be posting tomorrow what I at least plan to be part of my Truth About series. So we will get to that tomorrow. You'll see that on this platform. I'll be back with the radio show on Wednesday on 97.3 ESPN FM and right here on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. Thank you for watching. Thank you to Jeff and Jonathan for chiming in on the YouTube channel with your comments. And as I tell you guys at the end of a lot of these shows, the growth and success of this platform is up to you. The more you guys engage, the more you guys comment, the more you guys like and share, the more that this platform grows, the more I can give you guys. Right now, I can give you what I can give you content-wise because my job here at 97.3 ESPN, it restricts my time. I spend a lot of time doing a lot of work that nobody ever sees or hears because that's my job description. I have to do that work. And so if you guys like what I do here and you believe that what I'm doing is worth your time to watch and listen to, then it's on you guys to like, share, and subscribe. Because the more I grow this channel, the more likely I can commit more time and more resources to this side of everything. So those of you who are already subscribed, who do like, who do comment, like Jeff, like Jonathan, I thank you guys for joining the conversation, and I appreciate all of you who have so far supported my endeavors on this platform. Have a good night. Take care, everyone, and I'll catch you next time right here on my YouTube channel at Josh